Hello and welcome to my... Something's wrong. I can feel it. What the heck? What are you doing? We're out of mayonnaise. Never again. Get up. We have work to do. Ferb, we've run out of mayonnaise. This can't ever happen again. We need a system to manage our kitchen inventory, a kitchen inventory management system, or KIMS for short. I'm thinking an HMI in the cupboard. We can get one of those little box computers. We can use the screen that we've been using before, the touch screen. And one of the commenters said that we should try Node-RED, and I looked at it, it looks pretty good. So maybe you should try using Node-RED for the back end, connect to a database, use HTML for the front end. Should work nice. We can have a scanner and scan everything in when we buy it and scan it out when we throw it away. And then it should be able to keep track of what we have, what we want, and then be able to make a difference list. And that would be our shopping list. It'll completely automatically generate our shopping list. And hopefully in the future, we can just have it automatically order the groceries so they arrive to our door and we never run out of mayonnaise again. Right, you with me? Yeah?
Yes.
Do you want to run out of mayonnaise?
No. No, I'm sorry.
All right. So I need you to make a backing plate. It needs to be flat so that I can use double-sided sticky tape to stick this on to the cupboard, okay?
Okay.
So you 3D print that. All right. You do the coating, and then I am going to do some electrical rewiring so that we can get some power in there for this thing. It'll connect through Wi-Fi, connect to our central database that we have, because of course we would, and should just work. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's do this. The idea is to use this scanner here and automatically scan barcodes anytime we bring something in from the grocery store or throw it away. We can scan it in and out of the system that way. And then I'll have a touch screen, and this here is one of those screens from the last video where I put a screen in just embedded into my computer. These things are fantastic and cheap, so I'll be using another one of those. And then all of that will be run by this tiny little computer. I think this is actually significantly more powerful than my first computer, and that was rather large, so these are very impressive and also quite cheap. Okay, here's all the hardware in place. I've got everything cable managed, and I'll just give you a peek here because once I put the shelves back in place, this will all be pretty well hidden. The only thing left to put in is this scanner here. So we'll have to just run this down here and into the computer. If I can get it the right way around. There it is. Yep, so that works. I don't have a place for it yet because I want to use it for a little while and then decide where it might be convenient to stash this thing. So now that's all the hardware in place. So the next thing is we need to get the software taken care of. So let's go take a look at that. Okay, let's talk about software. Ferb here has been working on the software, and to be honest, we've already tested this thing, but we reset that machine. We're remoted into it right now. So this is actually the machine running in the cupboard, but it's inconvenient to work on a machine in a cupboard, as you might imagine. And so, as I said, we reset it. So we're going to actually go through setting it up again so that you can see how we set it up. And all the code that we're going to be using here is going to be up on GitHub. So if you want to get that code, you can get it there. Now this is somewhat just tailored to exactly what we want it to be, so keep that in mind, and we'll probably be modifying this as we go forward as we want to. So, but yeah, let's have Ferb here talk us through setting up the server. I think the first thing we need to do is get Node-RED. Node-RED's already installed on this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You need to get Node.js, and then Node-RED is a Node package
Right.
that you install.
Okay, and there are tutorials on that, so we won't cover that as heavily. But there are some additional packages that we need to get right for our particular program to work.
Yep. So we need SQL string.
All right, and what is SQL string doing here?
It's a JavaScript library for Node.js that allows us to escape the variables that are typed into our application before we send it off to our SQL server.
Oh, okay. That's a very specific thing. Okay.
Yeah.
For formatting.
We need to find the settings. Normally it's in users, but since we're running it as a service, it puts it somewhere else, and I don't know where.
Oh, it's probably in app data. So for those that don't know what we mean by escape characters and stuff, you'll know that you need to know if you know that you need to know what that is. But if you don't, I wouldn't worry too much about it. This is communication with our database, the SQL database, and we won't be going over installing a SQL database because that's a totally different subject. We're just going to be pointing this program at the database that we have. And I think for reference, we're using a MariaDB. But this SQL string thing is for formatting things properly so things work out. Oh yeah, it's
roaming,
roaming.
NPM, yeah.
I called it.
Function global context. What are we looking for?
So normally when you're adding extra libraries or modules or whatever you want to call it, you don't have to go in here and change the settings, do you? Because I don't remember having to do that.
No, that's because this is just a Node.js library. So it's not inherently available within Node-RED.
Oh.
So what we're doing is, this is the global context here. And we're assigning this value, this SQL string, to what is returned by this function.
Oh, okay.
Require SQL string. So what this does is this goes and gets the library and then stores it in this. And then this makes it globally available to all our little JavaScript functions that run within Node-RED. So any of our JavaScript functions can say, give me SQL string from the global context, and it'll get this.
Okay. Okay, so that package goes straight to Node.js, which is what Node-RED is built on. And that's why that's that.
Yep. And then the other packages we need are UI Builder and MySQL, which are specifically Node-RED packages.
Right. And Node-RED packages are much easier to install because you just install them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a bunch of these packages and also a bunch more packages can be found on the nodered.org site. So if you're looking for a specific one and someone doesn't give you a link, you can always search that. And if you find a flows.nodered.org reference, you'll probably find it right there. And the cool thing is they give you they give you the install command that you need to run in PowerShell to get that up and running. And when we run those two install commands, then there's nothing left that we have to do, right? Those are installed and ready to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now to get it to run as a service, you need to get a non-sucking service manager. So I downloaded that and put that here, C drive/NSSM. It's just an executable file.
Yeah, because otherwise there's a bunch of other more programmy stuff you have to do to get something to run as a service, right? So this is just the easy way to get something to run.
Yeah, so you'll just run the executable like this, just install, and then the name, what you want to name the service. And then you enter the information here. But started in the right folder.
Convenient. It's almost like
That should be in your user app data roaming npm folder. Yeah.
Yeah, so the username, app data, roaming, npm, Node-RED should be in there.
I think it just uses the settings from that folder, not these ones, so
Okay.
it should start in that same folder. I think maybe if you set it to do that, it'll create a new folder and use that, but it should be fine, because we already set the settings in there, so we want to use that folder.
Okay.
I wonder if it doesn't create the settings.js file until you do that, though. So you may have to do this first.
Oh, and then, okay.
And then edit the settings file.
Okay. Yeah, like the service has to run before the settings file exists?
Yeah.
You mean? Okay.
And then it should show
There it
up
is.
in here.
Yeah. Now, do you have to right-click on that and set it to? Well, I guess it is automatic.
Yeah, it is automatic. You can just reboot and it'll start,
Okay.
or you can just start it manually.
Okay. So there's two connections that can be made to Node-RED. One is the actual interface, and then here, this is the programming interface. No.
I mean, we haven't created the HMI yet.
All right. Okay.
That's a node.
Yeah. So Node-RED here is actually programmed through this web interface, which is really interesting. And so here we're just going to import directly from the GitHub the program, which should just populate everything in here. And from here, it should be pretty close to working, except that a couple of things have to be input for this thing to work. Now, I think I mentioned earlier, it's connecting to our Todoist lists, which is a to-do handling program, and it's going to add items in there to buy from the store. So yeah, I have to put this token in. If you want to use this Todoist API, then you'll need to get your token and put it in here as well.
And then you also need the project ID.
Right.
To put the
So
tasks in.
yeah, the way this is working right now, I made a project in Todoist. I mean, assuming that you know how Todoist works. If you don't, and you don't want to use this, it doesn't really matter. But I made a project in Todoist, and I'm using the project ID that I extracted from Todoist to just put and delete items from that project.
So you'll need to set that up on every single one of these.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the only other thing that needs to be set up is the database, right?
Yeah, and the HMI.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So we've got a database connection here, and this is connecting to a database that we have locally. So you would need to set up a database if you wanted to use this method. But if the database is hooked up, then we need to actually copy HTML into this to be the front end. And this, of course, will be in the GitHub. So yeah, you'll just have to go through here and select each of these files and paste it in. And once it's deployed, it should just be immediately available. So the HTML that we just pasted in there, HTML and JavaScript, made an extra web page here that will be our interface. So you can see it here unpopulated, but in the future, once we actually start scanning stuff in, there'll be a list on the left-hand side. Yeah, so the next thing for convenience is we're going to set up Kiosk Mode so that if we do restart that PC, it's going to automatically log into a given user and start this. It's going to start Edge and automatically go to this web page. So that's everything set up. If I restart this machine, it's going to automatically start up and be in the web browser, full screened, and in this application. So now let's go back in and demonstrate scanning stuff in using this as a database for the cupboard.
Hello, my children. It is I, the great value Bower. Here's the device. It's fully functioning, as all things should be. The user interface is nice and clean. I made this thing. It was the first attempt at a scanner holder. This one turned out a bit small, so I made a second one in here that holds the scanner. You can kind of see how this would work. So anyways, with this little scanner, we can just get to work on this thing. So let's say we want to add marshmallows to the list. Well, you would just go right on down to the store and get yourself some nice bag of marshmallows. On the left is everything in the pantry. Notice there are no marshmallows yet. Well, guess what? I'm going to press add on the scan mode. And now anything you scan shows up in here. Whoop! Since there was no entry for craft marshmallows, it makes one and adds one to the inventory. There's a nice bit of functionality where you can say how many of an item you want. So I could say, I want to have 3 bags of marshmallows in this pantry at all times. For whatever reason, don't judge me, I'm not judging you, I'm judging you. So it says we have 1 out of 3. Now, it's going to tell us, hey, you don't have enough. But every time I scan one in, it adds to the inventory. Now it says, hey, you have 3 out of 3, you're good to go. Now, say in theory, I eat this entire bag of marshmallows because I'm freaking fat. I'm just gonna go to remove, scan this bag of marshmallows. Scanned, there we go, it's scanned. And now I would take this empty bag, presumably, and throw it in the trash, and it's gonna say, uh-oh, you only got 2 out of 3, boy. You need to get another one. Say, I hate marshmallows now. I've eaten an entire freaking bag of marshmallows, and now I think they're gross. Well, I can just make sure that this item is selected on the list, press delete, confirm, and it's gone. Now you don't have to worry about that on your list anymore. So, with everything set up here, the tedious part is just going through this pantry, scanning everything in there, and making sure it's on the list. But once you do that, you don't really need to worry about bulk scanning as long as you stay on top of things, scan things in when you buy them, scan things out when you eat them. It's gonna remain nice and clean. But you're not responsible, are you? I'm not responsible. This thing isn't gonna stay clean, we're all gonna die, and there's nothing you can do about it. But you can like and subscribe. Oh, plug! Shameless, I know. Yeah, it's my bad. Anyways. See ya.
Can't be done.
We're gonna get as much as we